Hey guys, welcome back to Orange Hat Reviews. I gotta do this on my laptop because apparently this fucking thing decided to drain overnight for some inexplicable reason, go from 90% to 0 in only 6 hours, and it wasn't even on. So that's weird. But anyway, welcome back to another mystery review where I basically give hints throughout the week. And you guys got to try to guess it. Now, a lot of people, or a couple of people have actually guessed it in the chat. We have Epime Oz, or the Oz, definitely giving a great hint. There's no crying in baseball. And yes, G-Fan definitely has guessed it, A League of Their Own. So, speaking of Gina Davis, how good is The Long Kiss Goodnight? Love that movie. Not to mention another great role by Brian Cox. To be 100% honest, I have not seen that movie. But never say never. So, League of Their Own is a 1992 film with a great cast. I mean, this cast was top tier back in the day. It was directed by Penny Marshall, and it starred Gina Davis, Lori Petty, Tom Hanks, John Lovitz, Rosie O'Donnell, before she went crazy, Madonna, before she threatened to blow up the White House, Bill Pullman, before he became president, and David Strathairn, before he became a soldier in the army trying to take down Godzilla, and many others. So, Lurk 'em all shopping. Good to hear, Jade Shadow. Thank you for stopping in. And I will try to get a hold of it if I can, Epi. I can't promise that it will be soon, but I can promise that I will eventually see it. So, the movie's starting with Dottie Henson going over the movie with Rosie and Madonna, and I don't want to chop my... Wonders never cease. Jeez, dude. Anyway, also sorry for the background noise. We do got the washer and dryer going, or the dryer is going on its last spin, I'm hoping. But yeah, so the movie starts with Dottie Henson, an older Dottie Henson. You don't know who she is at first. Packing up and whatnot, and then her daughter comes in, tosses her the catcher's mitt that she used. And she smiles, and then she's like, I don't want to go. Now, where she's going is the Baseball Hall of Fame. Now, a wonderful story that I should tell you guys before I get further into this is I have actually met one of the original professional women's baseball players. When I was young, this movie had just been out for for about a year or two. And I think it was 1993 that I actually went to to the Baseball Hall of Fame with my family and whatnot. My dad brought us. And I went to the Women's Baseball Hall of Fame because we had just seen the movie a couple of days before as well. And I'm looking at the list, seeing if I could find Dottie Henson or Kit Keller or anything. And she's like, would you like to meet one of the women who played baseball back then? This woman just asked me that, and I'm like, sure. And she's like, she goes down the list and she points to that name. She's like, I'm that woman. You get a starstruck moment. Oh, good that you can't hear the dryer. That's good. You kind of get a starstruck moment when you meet somebody who is actually a part of history. Her name is Dolly Nemec. And I will never forget that. I feel kind of bad for not looking up her stats and stuff. I kind of got out of sports a while back, but I will always remember that I did meet that woman and that she is a part of the All-American Girls Baseball League, which was also professional baseball at the time. And it is truly an honor to meet somebody like that because they did something for America during a time of war that Well, we couldn't honestly depend on the guys to do because the guys were busy fighting overseas. And this movie does pay tribute to the first All-American Girls Baseball League and how it started. And yes, back in the 40s, there was a very, well, stereotypical and sexist way of looking at women. Women belonged in the kitchen, and that's something that they even say in this movie. So we're going to tell them to go back to the kitchens and get out of the factories and go back to the kitchen, or get out of the dirt and back into the kitchen. And it's just how it was back then. It's not right. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying that's what happened back then. That was what it was like back then. And when you have people nowadays saying, well, we should make a movie or a historical movie, God forbid they try to redo this movie. And because you know that they're going to say, well, we don't need you, men, to do what we want. Because nowadays, oh my God, they would wokeify the hell out of it. But yes, this movie showed that women were more than just cooks in the kitchen. Women were working in factories as well. Women were doing all sorts of things to keep the American economy afloat during World War II. And as G-Fan says, League of Their Own is a great movie. It's rare to see a movie focusing on the home front during World War II. You honestly don't see many movies, except for this one and maybe a couple others that I'm unaware of, that actually have this sort of storyline that shows you what's going on in the U.S. during the war. If you've ever seen a woman throw a flip-flop at you, you'd never want to be on the receiving end of them throwing a baseball instead. Oh, believe me, dude. My family members, even the females, all played sports growing up. So they were not ones to fuck with. But anyway, so we get into the movie where Dottie is going to Cooperstown, to the Baseball Hall of Fame, because they were just opening up the All-American Girls Baseball Hall of Fame, but we don't know that yet in the movie. So she doesn't want to go. Her daughter's like, Kit might be there, and Kit, she's too busy driving around with her husband and all those other places and whatnot. And so she's like, you gotta go. You said you were going to go. You're going. We're not taking no for an answer. So her daughter basically just shoves her out the damn door and gets her to, or drives her to the airport. Then she gets on a bus. She gets off the bus at Cooperstown. And you see these women, these elderly women, playing baseball. And you don't exactly understand it in the beginning of the movie, especially if you're a young viewer, like I was when I first saw this movie. And then you see as Dottie is looking at the women playing, it does go into a time jump back in the past, where there is the radio announcement that the professional baseball players of the Yankees and whatnot or Yankees, Red Sox, and all the other players are being drafted into World War II. And then a candy bar king, Walter Harvey, decided, let's have a girls' baseball league. And you get introduced to Ira Lowenstein, who played by David Strathairn. He's a great actor. He's played with some great movies that I've seen. The Bourne movies, he was one of the shadier government officials. He was in the Monsterverse from he was in Godzilla and Godzilla King of Monsters. He wasn't in the Godzilla vs. Kong, but basically his character was established. He played in a lot of different ones. This is the earliest movie that I've seen him in. And I almost didn't recognize him when I rewatched it a while back. So you then see Gina Davis, and you immediately recognize that the older woman is Gina Davis's character. And you also see Kit, and they're playing for the dairy team or where they work for the dairy. And they're playing, just minor league stuff, baseball. It's not even considered minor league. It's just considered regional baseball. And you really do get the relationship between Kit and Dottie. And where she is actually, or where Dottie is always in her sister's shadow. She feels like she's always in her sister's shadow. And she's telling her, lay off the high ones. She's like, I can hit it. No, you can't. She's striking everybody out with high pitches. And she's like, you'll never be able to lift his bat. She's like, I will. And so she's like, I can handle it. She just wants her sister to leave her alone. Dottie's trying to give her sound advice, but Kit doesn't want to listen. She's sick of being told what to do all the time, basically. She's like, lay off the high ones. I like the high ones. Mule, nag. That's a thing between them that you easily get. And so Kit gets up there and she swings at 2 high ones. And then the pitcher does a switch, which puts it right down the middle, and Kit doesn't swing because she thought it was going to be high and she didn't want to swing. So she got struck out. Then Dottie basically steps up to the plate, and she knocks it out of the park and brings in the winning runs. And the people or some of the guys are making fun of Kit, and there's one guy who likes her, and you hear the crowd chanting Dottie's name, and then they get back to their farm where they're walking, and Kit's complaining, and Dottie's trying to be like, look, don't get mad if you win, get mad if you lose. And she's like, and her sister tells her, if that last pitch was right down the middle, if I would have swung at that, I would be the big hero. And then she's like, or goes over what the other people were telling her. And how she is always in her sister's shadow, how she's not as good as her sister, not as good looking as her sister. It's a wonderful way of establishing that these two are sisters, and that Dottie, while married, she's content with her life, where Kit, she wants to get out of that life. She wants to get away from what she's been doing because she feels stuck because of Dottie. It's the older sibling complex where you're always in your older sibling shadow. So then we see John Lovitz, who actually was at the game. He's a baseball scout trying to get their attention. And he's like, I love how because Dottie and Kit are milking the cows. And they're like, and he's like, geez, doesn't that hurt them? Doesn't seem to. Well, it sure chafed the hell out of me. John Lovitz is in this movie, even for how limited a time he is in the movie, is freaking hilarious. He was a great actor back in the day. I haven't seen him much nowadays, but he still has that wonderful voice and that wonderful acting talent. And so he offers them or brings them up to speed on the Harvey bars and how there's a professional league and they'll pay you $75 a week. And Kit's like, we only get 30 at the dairy. And so, yeah. So he's like, I want Dottie. And she's like, or Kit's like, well, I'll go. What, do I need to sign something? I don't want you. I want her, the one who hit the ball. And Dottie goes up to bat for her sister. She's like, she's good. She's very good. She's a pitcher. She didn't pitch today because she already pitched the day before. And she's like, well, thank you for that that insight into her life. I want you. You I saw, you I like. And you also get the sexist behavior from this guy too. I mean, that's what it was back then, you know? And so Kit is desperate, and he's like, I'm sorry. And he puts his hand against her arm, and he feels the muscle in her arm. He's like, you're a pitcher, huh? I'll tell you what. If she comes, you can come too. If you stink, it'll only cost a train ticket. And I do like that, how you basically get the feel from inside the house when they're talking about it, where Dottie, she's married. She doesn't want to, or she's happy. She doesn't want to do it. And so then you hear Kit trying to explain to her, don't you want to be part of something special? And then you hear their parents yelling at Kit, or their mother yelling at Kit, keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio. And that's basically really the last straw for Kit. She's like, please, I got to get out of here. And then you see them running up to the train, running after the train. And I love how she's like, or you see, they run up, you toss a bag in, back up a little, run back up, toss another bag in, give me that bag, and then get them on the train. Did you promise the cows you'll right? It's just, this movie has so much comedy, but it's also a drama as well. And it really is an underappreciated movie. So, hold on. Going over to talking points here. Then we get to Fort Collins, Colorado, where Marla Hooch. And you see that this woman is knocking or breaking out the ball through the windows inside of that gym. And you hear her apologize. And her father's like, no, don't sweat it, Marla. That was good for him. And you see that she's also a switch hitter. And she's predominantly a lefty, because you see how when the player's grown, when she goes, or when she switches it up to lefty, and it's like, okay, so she's predominantly a left. And the scout likes her, and you also see Dottie and Kit noticing how good she is. And then when they call her over, you see that she's, well, not the most attractive woman. And the scout's like, we'll let you know. We got to get out of here. He's like, what's wrong? She's good. She's very good. You can't use her. Why? What's wrong? You ever hear of, or I can't remember the specific general that they talked about. Well, there's too strong resemblances. Or it's too strong a resemblance. And they're like, you mean you ain't taking her because she ain't pretty? Well, look who decided to catch up. And so the girls aren't going to go. They put their bags down. They're like, nope, we're not leaving. Pick those bags up. One leg in front of the other. Come on. And so the father, or Marla's father, pleads with her. Or pleads with him. Or pleads with him. Don't make my baby girl suffer because I screwed up raising her. I raised her as if she was a boy. I didn't know any better. I didn't give her dolls. I gave her baseballs, you know? And that's because her mother died early in life. He didn't know how to raise a daughter. What men do at that age or in that time without a mother's care? They do the best they can. And so the scout takes her. The scout actually takes her. And they get to the tryouts. And they get attached to it. They're like, wait, you're leaving? Yeah, dry your eyes. Just going to go home, shower, shave, give the wife a tickle of the pickle, and that'll be it. And they're like, yeah, but what? Fields, tryouts, play. It's like, I hate it when they get attached to me like that. It is just so freaking great. So then you see, or you get the introduction to Rosie O'Donnell and Madonna. And how they see Gina and, or Kit and Dottie rolling up with Marla. And they're like, can we help you with something? No. And so they kind of establish themselves as real bitches at first. They're like, or they got over 100 girls, so some of you are going to have to leave. Yeah, sorry about that. And we get the famous shot of Rosie O'Donnell throwing a speedball or a fastball at Gina, and Gina's like, just catches it and shows it to her. And they're like, okay, some of them are going home. And I just love the dynamic between different characters and how certain characters are grouped up, some are not, you know? And basically the two main groups were Dottie and her sister Kit and Marla. And then you also get Rosie and Madonna. So you then get a hold, or you see the tryouts, and that's, you see how they're playing, you see how they're hitting, you see how well Dottie is at catching, and she's stinging the hands of the second baseman when she gets a pitch to her and has to throw to second for somebody stealing first. It's all great cinematography in this movie as well, because they really do show you just how expansive the tryouts were. And then you hear the coach or one of the guys talking to how you are all going to be part of the first All-American Girls Baseball League. And you see a girl still checking the list because she can't read. That was Shirley Baker. And one of the nicer players goes up and she's like, "Can you read?" And she fully admits. So then they show that she's on one of the lists, that she made one of the teams, the Rockford Peaches. And then she sits down there, and you get the hold of the rules and the look of the baseball uniforms, which were basically made for the male gaze. And they're like, "It's awfully short. Sure, I'm gonna have to squat in that thing." Well, and they're like, "Ladies, you don't play ball on this. You don't play ball with us." There's 37 women right now getting bus tickets to go home who would play in a bathing suit if I asked them. And then you hear Madonna, "Well, there's no room, or there's no pockets for my cigarettes." There is no smoking. There's also no drinking and no men. Freaking Madonna's she's like, "Nope." No gays. No gays. Yeah, I know, right? Gina know how to play tough. That's for sure. Yeah, she did. And so then he's like, "You'll also be given or attending classes of charm school and whatnot." What does that mean? Every woman here is going to be a lady. And you see Marla just like looking back and forth. You see the charm classes, how Marla's very stiff and gracefully and grandly. And it's just, and then they're doing the whole sipping tea. Sip and down. Don't slurp. Sip down. Don't slurp. And you see freaking Rosie just munching on a hot dog while she's sipping the damn tea. They sit or cross their legs right over left. A lady reveals nothing. I mean, there's so many great lines in this movie that honestly, because of how underrated this movie is nowadays, people forget that this movie is not about a team. It's about two sisters. And so then, after the charm school, you get introduced to Jimmy Dugan, Tom Hanks' character, who's stumbling drunk, talking to Walter Harvey, and Walter Harvey's talking to him about wanting to manage one of the girls' baseball teams. And well, Jimmy Dugan is less than happy about that, because he's like, "Look, you step out from the dugout, you wave your little hat, you give him a show, and that's it." And I just love how the dynamic is. He comes in freaking blazed drunk, dude. He's just fucking fall out drunk when he goes into the dressing room where the women are getting ready for the first game. And we get the piss scene where he's just pissing in one of the sinks, and Madonna grabs a watch and starts timing it. And when I was younger, I also timed it. It's like 43 or 47 seconds or something like that. And he stops, and they're like, "Oh." Then he goes again, "Oh, that counts?" And freaking Doris, played by Rosie, is like, "How long? I ain't going to ask you again." "Shut up, Doris." "Oh, that was some pretty good peeing." And so one of the women, Betty Spaghetti, is like, "Would you sign my husband's baseball card?" So he just rips the card up, and she's like, "That's going to kill me," and this and that. And so then they didn't get a lineup. Well, we can't play without a lineup. And so Dottie steps up. How hard is it to do a lineup? Hold on one second. So they're like, Rose is like, well, I want to be center field. And she's arguing with her friend Doris. They both want to be center field. So then they're like, well, why don't you do it? Me? Yeah, you. Okay, May, center field, lead off. She's good. And so the first game, not a lot of spectators. You see Jimmy Dugan waltz out, waving his little hand. Y'all can kiss my ass. Y'all can fucking kiss her. Kiss my ass. You're all our assholes. And he goes back in to the dugout. So the first game is nothing really special. And then it's later in the game, and you see Jimmy just scratching his nuts. It's just freaking hilarious. And then Jimmy has some grievances with Strathorn's character, Lowenstein, Ira Lowenstein. He's like, after you scratched your balls for an hour, I didn't know if you were drunk or dead. And he's like, well, anything we're doing right. He's like, well, you got some pretty good ball players. Ball players? I haven't got ball players. I got girls. Girls who you want to sleep with after the game, not hang around with during the game. And it's like, and then he just hawks his chewing tobacco on Lowenstein's shoe. And he's like, if we paid you a little bit more, Jimmy, could you be a little bit more disgusting? He's like, well, I could certainly use the money. And then they do a second game, and that's when Evelyn, one of the nice, cute little blondes of the Rockford Peaches, she's like, I play for us. And her husband is sick of having to deal with her son. Hold on one second. And she's like, my husband says I should just take him and shut up about it. So can I? And he's like, and she's like, take my son on road trips. He's the sweetest little boy. Everyone will love him. Yeah, I wish, right? The FBI opening up. Some of the stuff I've said on my political channel might actually get the FBI to come here, but hopefully not. Hopefully free speech still endures. Anyway, so then we get introduced to Stillwell Angel on the bus and how he is torturing these poor women. That kid, that entire scene was freaking hilarious. And where he grabs the freaking bus driver's eyes or covers his eyes while he's driving, and it's like, oh my God, this kid's going to get everybody killed. So Stillwell is called to his mother, Evelyn, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to kill your son. And you freaking Madonna just is like, come here, you little shit. I mean, it's like, oh my God. Stillwell Angel, have another chocolate bar. That kid's face is plastered full of chocolate. Give me. It's like, oh my God, really, dude? And so the driver has quit, and the chaperone for the team, Mrs. Cuthbert, is going after him trying, you can't quit, please. The girls have a game. No. And he throws dirt in her face. No. And so she comes back, and they're like, you come with it? And the girls are talking. Dottie's like, or the others are like, you come with us? Where? Little dive called the Suds Bucket. No, I'm married. And what about, and then you see Mrs. Cuthbert. Mr. Gusatelli shan't be returning. And then we get another good scene. But they're like, well, how are you going to get past Miss Cuthbert? May's going to poison her dinner. What? And this movie has a great pace because this is like 40 minutes in, and the movie is just freaking, I think it's 40 minutes in, could be 30. But anyway, this movie's pacing is just really even throughout, and it's over a 2 hour, or it's an over 2 hour movie. And so Miss Cuthbert is trying to wake up Mr. Dugan because he's passed out drunk on the bus. And she's like, Mr. Dugan. What is it, baby? And he kisses her. Then you realize who he kissed. And they both scream. And he's like, and takes a swig of his alcohol. He's like, "What the hell is going on? Why are we stopped? Lou quit. Who's Lou? The driver?" It's like, what the hell? So then he just stumbles off the bus. And they're like, "Is that English?" And then he sits down to drive, and he's like, "By the way, I really loved you in The Wizard of Oz." So then they cut to Mrs. Cuthbert is like throwing up a lot, and even the doctor says, he's like, "In all my years of medicine, I've never seen a woman throw up that much." And so the girls sneak out at the Suds bucket. You see how these twins really like how Rosie's dancing, and Madonna's just, well, not going to say slutting it up, but she's really landed on heavy that she really likes the guy. And you learn that Rosie learned how to dance because she was a bouncer at the dancing place that Madonna used to work or works at, because her father, or because Rosie's, I think, said her father owned the joint. And that's how you see Rosie dancing, and she's actually leading during the dance, which is not something that everybody knows or does or lets women do. But, well, Rosie is a bigger woman. So, yeah. And I like how this kid drives Gina Dottie there. And he's like, "What's the holdup, Sugar Liv? Why don't we get into the back seat and you can make a man out of me?" She's like, "I want to smack you around for a while. Can't we do both?" That kid is freaking hilarious, man. Honestly, I think that I really should look up who that kid was, because the kid does kind of look like Sam Worthington in a little, or just a very young Sam Worthington. So then we also get, or Gina's there to get everybody out because Lowenstein's on his way, and if they catch them there, they're out of the league. And then they're like, "Where's Marla?" "Up there." Marla's singing, and she's had a lot of liquor, and she's singing in Nelson. That scene is freaking just hilarious. And she's like, so they finally get her out, and so then we get to the confessions the next day, and you hear this thud, and then you hear Rosie's like, "That's the third time he's dropped the Bible since she's been in there." And then you see Madonna walk out, and you see the priest open up the door like, "What?" And so she crosses herself. They're like, "May, what did you say to him?" "Everything." You just really get the fact that May is, well, she's a slut of the team, basically. So then we get to the next one where Ellen Sue throws Wild over the cutoff and allows the team, or the opposite team, to get it two runs to catch up with and lose the lead. And that's when Tom Hanks drops some very famous lines. He's like, and he causes Ellen Sue to start crying. He's like, "Now you start using your head. That's that lump 3 feet above your ass." And so she's starting to cry, and you're like, "You crying? No. You crying? No. I'm not crying. There's no crying in baseball." And it's like, oh my God. And then he goes up to her and he's like, "Roger Hornby was my manager, and he called me a steaming pile of pig shit. And that's when my parents drove up all the way from South Bend to watch me play the game. And did I cry? No. No. Yeah. And do you know why? No. Because there's no crying in baseball. There's no crying in baseball. No crying." And then the umpire comes up. "What's the problem, Jimmy?" "She's crying, sir." "Well, maybe you chastised her too vehemently. Good rule of thumb. Treat all these women as you would treat your mother." Anyone ever say you look like a penis with a little hat on? That is one of the best fucking lines. You're out of here. You can't really fun. He gets ejected from the game. It is just so freaking funny. So then, hold on, we got G-Fan here. These women faced a lot of criticism in the day about being too manly, to the point that the owners made them all take classes to be more ladylike. Exactly. That is one of the things that they did, the whole charms or lady in charm school. Because, well, you did see that one woman during the tryout, she smacks right up against the wall and just is able to continue on as if it was nothing. It's like, holy shit, we got a he-woman here, or she-woman here. You know? And so then near the end of the game, Lowenstein comes out. Ladies, how y'all doing? There's a news reporter from Time Magazine. He wants to do, and Dottie, I'm hoping that they could do a story on you. Why you? Well, because you're the Queen of Diamonds. And he then lets the ladies know that there's a chance that the league might close down if they don't do anything to really bump up the stadium to get people to come to the games, do something that's crazy, you know, kind of to get people interested in ladies baseball, because there was also the woman who did the news report saying that Harvey are completely nuts. Women don't belong in baseball. It's the backward sexualization in our country and all that stuff. There was a lot of backlash against women's baseball, and he's like, we need to get the league going. You know, we need to have it moved up. So they get attention, or they're doing what they can to get attention, and you see how catch a foul, win a kiss. And Ellen Sue, who's like the model of the Peaches, kisses a guy who catches a foul ball. You see Dottie Henson drop into a split and catch a foul. You see all of them doing different things to get more interest in the game. And it works. And then you also get the how Dottie's basically leading the game because Jimmy's not paying attention. And you see how she's like, you want her to bunt? Why not swing? I'm not going to have one of our best hitters swing or bunt when she could easily swing away. He's like, bat! And you get the whole Marla Hooch is up there ready to bat, and she's stepping in and out because friggin' Gina and Tom Hanks are having a battle of the signals and yada, 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 and whatnot. He's like, hey, who's the manager? I am. Well, then act like it, you lush. So he tells her to swing away. He can't even remember anybody's name. And the stylish catches of May, where she's like, oh, catches it in her hat. And they do get the crowds. You see Iris smiling in a full stadium, and how you see then Walter Harvey come along. And you also see how they're doing other things, and you see Rosie O'Donnell and Tom Hanks holding still while he's like, come on, cough it up. What's going on? The kid ate the lineup. I mean, it's just so funny how they do all sorts of different things. Also, Marla has to quit the team because she gets hitched. She got a letter from Nelson, and it was a proposal of marriage. They get married, and so she's like, I'll see y'all next season. And I love how they take the rice balls that you usually empty out at weddings and toss in little handfuls. Well, the women take the rice balls. They don't bother untying them, just throwing them like baseballs at the damn car. It's just hilarious. So then the league starts to draw a crowd, and you then hear Ira and Walter Harvey talking about it, and he's like, or Walter Harvey's like, well, too bad, or we won't need him by the end of the season. And he's like, what? We're winning the war. There's no need for him anymore. And so Ira fights for the league. He's like, I sold your product when there was no product. This is a product. He's like, there is no room for women's baseball in this country. He's like, you're wrong. And I would like your permission to take over the league. And I'm going to prove to you that these women deserve the right to play. They've earned it. They've fought, or they play with sprained ankles, broken nails. You also see Alice, one of the Rockford Peaches, who never slides, but they're like, start in the dirt, Alice, start in the dirt. And so she slides for the first time. And you see this big freaking welt of a bruise on her because she's never slid before. She has delicate skin, apparently. It is so freaking great. And then we get another, or you see Kit and Gina kind of saying, you don't got a third ball, or you don't got a curveball left. And you see them arguing a little bit. It's just baseball stuff, you know? And my phone just went off. So Dugan and Dottie are on the bus, and they're talking about, or Dottie showing him a picture of her husband, and he's a good-looking guy, and she's like, I usually get a letter every week, and I haven't gotten one in 3 weeks. Well, they're in war, and it's combat, and if something did happen, God forbid, you'd get one of those telegrams. And that is a foreshadowing scene, because telegrams were basically what most women got. They barely got actual visitors to come up. Sometimes they got a letter in the mail that their husband had died in combat. And so then during the game that they are driving to, Kit gets pulled out because she's tired out and whatnot. And Dottie's pissed off, or Kit's pissed off at Dottie because Dottie's like, she's done. She's throwing grapefruits. And so she gets pulled. And Betty Spaghetti is the one who pitches out, or does out the rest of the game. And then we get the fight with Rosie and Kit, and Jimmy ends up taking Kit into the showers and runs her in the shower. He's like, you stay down there until you cool off. And you also get the fact that Rosie's pissed off, and they're like, she was vulnerable and you provoked her, so you were in the wrong. And then there's the big fight between Dottie and Kit. I accidentally put Dottie and Dottie. So Kit's saying, you're holding me back, and why do you got to be so good? And then Dottie's ready to leave just as Ira Lowenstein got the news that, well, they're going to close down the league at the end of the season. He's like, you can't quit now. We really need it. What's the problem? Is it one girl? Oh, I see. It's Kit. Well, and we can arrange a trade and whatnot. Trade me or whatever, but figure it out. You have till tomorrow to figure it out. Otherwise, I'm gone. And then at the night at the chaperone's house where all the women are staying, Kit comes in, catches the ball kind of like Dottie does, and then throws it right through the window at Donnie. Calls her a bitch. She's like, what? I've been traded to Racine. I told them to trade me. Oh, like they would really trade you, Miss Star, Miss Perfect. You knew exactly what was going to happen and whatnot. So she's like, I'll quit. Fine. Is that what you want? Oh, yeah. Then they'll blame me for you quitting. And she's like, what do you want me to do? I want you to stay away from me. That's what I want you to do. So Kit and Dottie have the falling out, and Kit basically has had enough of it. She's like, you know what, Kit? Blow it out your rear end. I am so sick and tired of being blamed for everything that's wrong with you. I got you into this league, God damn it. I didn't even want to be here. And that's when, and she has hinted at that. She's like, so when he gets back, are you going to keep playing? And she's like, no. Or she doesn't really, she loves baseball, but she does, or it's not something that she feels that she needs to keep playing, you know? She wants to have kids. She wants a life of a wife, you know, as they saw it back then. So then the next day, after that, you get the song where Evelyn wrote the song and Ellen Stu started singing the song, and then they all sing the song of the All-American League. And you see Stillwell peeking at the women in their underwear and covering his eyes and whatnot. And then you see Tom Hanks give Miss Cuthbert a spank, and he's like, "You gorgeous woman, you." And they're, "All right, ladies, get your heads in the game. Come on." He's like, "That's that lump 3 feet above our ass, right, Jimmy?" And he's like, Doris, some more prominent than others. So he has some great counters. And as he's about to talk back, a postman comes in from the War Department with a telegram. And automatically some of the women who are married are automatically basically clutching their pearls. They know that this is not, or they know that one of them is going to receive some very bad news. And because there's not a name on the list to who it is supposed to be given to, well, Tom Hanks wrests the telegram out of the mailer's hand and pushes him out the door. So he looks at it and he's like, "I'm sorry, Betty." And he gives it to Betty Spaghetti, who's right next to Gina Davis. So you think that it could have been Bob as well, who may have died. But then you see Betty break down because her husband she just received word that her husband died in combat. And that entire scene breaks a person down. I can actually feel the tear ducts filling behind my nose and pushing them up, because that scene is so emotional. The lead up all the way to where he walks up and Miss Cuthbert has to go in and comfort Betty. Betty can't play the game because obviously her husband has just died. She's not emotionally able to play the game, so they still had to play the game. And then after the game, you see Dottie in her room crying her eyes out because she feels that her husband may have also been killed. And you then hear a knock. She says, "Come in." And then you see a cane and 2 feet. 1 foot has a busted shoe or a plastered shoe. And you see that it's Bill Pullman, her husband, played by Bill Pullman. And she's like, "What happened?" And they're just happy to see her. And he's like, "It was a sniper. I was lucky. He got 7 of us before we got him. And he's been discharged medically, and he's back, and it's all over, you know?" So she's very happy that her husband is back, and so she's quitting. And Tom Hanks goes up, and she's like, "I don't need this anymore. I don't need it." He's like, "You could say that all you want, but baseball is what fills you up. It gets inside you. You can't deny that." And so she doesn't. "It just got too hard." And this is one of the best lines in the game, or in the entire movie. It's supposed to be hard. Because this applies to life. This applies to life as a whole, folks. It's supposed to be hard. If it was hard, everyone would do it. The hard is what makes it great. And so Dottie leaves, and they're in the World Series, and it shows that Racine, Kit's team, is in the World Series as well. They're playing very hard, and they're winning and whatnot. And there's a lot of repeat shots when they're speeding through the game or through the World Series to get to the final series. And it's a tied series, 3-3, with the 7th game. And you then see that Alice is catching, the one who has the bad slot or the bad leg from the slide and whatnot. And Ellen Sue is pitching. And I know I skipped over this, but I really should go back to it. Ellen Sue is actually also very cool because she was the one that threw the ball at the heckler who got onto the dugout and was like, "Girls can't play ball. Look at me, I'm a ball bear, I'm a ball bear." And everybody was laughing, so she just throws the ball at him, and she's like, "It slipped." And it was just so great. Now, so then we get to the Stillwell Angel jumping up or skipping up side to side. You're gonna lose. You're gonna lose. That is just one of the funniest damn things. So then, he thinks he's talking to Alice, and he's like, "You tell me if Ellen Sue doesn't have anything. You tell me that, won't you? Do you hear me? Yeah, you're screaming. I hear you." And you see that it's Dottie. He's like, "Well, where did you come from? Got as far as Yellowstone and turned back. Had a little problem with the bears, did you?" And she's like, "Look, I didn't have a problem until that scout walked into our barn. And besides, I'm no quitter." And he's like, whoa, who said you could play? You don't want me to play? Or Alice has been playing the last 6 games. She's very strong. You don't want me to play? Well, you're already dressed and I don't care. You can play. Well, then I'll play. And then you're like, okay, yeah, we're going to win. And then you hear Stillwell still going up, "You're going to lose. We're going to win. You're going to lose. We're going to win." And then he sees Stillwell still going at it. "You stay. You're going." So he grabs his player's glove and just chucks it at the kid and smacks him right in the face. And Stillwell goes down. And you see Tom Hanks like, "Ah, did you see that? I got him." Now, if you did that in a movie nowadays where a kid gets smacked with a baseball glove, oh boy, would you see a lot of people freaking out. But in that, back then, that's how it was, man. If a kid was giving you attitude, you could blister their ass. And that's basically what most kids need nowadays. But I do want to, oh shit, I did it. Or one of the final hints I gave on Twitter was avoid the clap. And that was because a bunch of some scrap kids came up to Jimmy to have him sign their ball. And he's like, "Can you sign our baseball?" "Yeah, sure." And then they're like, "Wow, avoid the clap, Jimmy Dugan. That's good advice." It's like, for those of you who don't know, because I feel that I have to explain this to some people, avoid the clap means chlamydia. Yeah, basically it's like, don't get chlamydia. And so when I was younger and I heard that, avoid the clap, I thought it was people clapping their hands. Because when you're a kid, you don't know what the fuck chlamydia is, you know? So that was funny. So now in the World Series, it's a pretty tight game. Racine starts to lead it, and then Kit realizes that Dottie is playing. And she still tries pitching against Dottie, and Dottie hits a line drive right at her head. And this causes the lead to, or the game to, or the Peaches, sorry. It's very good advice. Yes, it is. Good to see you, Blake. It's very good advice indeed. So now the Rockford Peaches are in the lead. Avoid the clap. Yeah, I know what you meant. I know exactly what you meant when it was that. So yeah. So now Rockford's back, or Rockford is in the lead, the Peaches, and it's in the bottom of the 9th. And you then see that Kit is freaking out. She is psychologically tortured because her sister's in this game. And she is broken because she's like, how the hell are we going to win this? Dottie is there, or Dottie has just freaking put us right into it, you know? And her player or her teammates are like, you got to shake it off, Dottie. One more hit and we're back in this game. You got to hit. And even her coach tells her, shake it off, Kit. Come on. Because you see her. She is literally freaking out. She's holding her head like this because she wants to win this game really bad. She wants to prove that she is better than her sister. So then we get 2 outs quick. And Tia Leone, who's another great actress, she's also in this movie. And she hits a single which puts up Kit. And Dottie calls time, knowing that what Kit's weakness is when it comes to batting. And she goes up to Ellen Sue. High fastball. She can't hit him. She can't lay off him. And it works for 2 strikes. And Kit is told, lay off the high ones from her coach. And she swings again, misses another high one. And then she looks back at Dottie, and Dottie just looks at her and looks back, and she finally puts it together. So Ellen Sue throws another high fast, and Kit swings high. And she smacks that ball, dude. And she's like, I'm done with this. So she runs it all. Her coach tells her to stop, but she doesn't listen when she's rounding third. And so they get it in, and she plows right into Dottie. Now, for those of you who don't know, if you run into a catcher while you're running home, and if you don't knock that ball out of their hand, you're out. Well, Kit knocks into Dottie hard enough, knocking them both down, and Dottie does drop the ball. So she's safe, and because there was another runner, Racine takes the win by one run. And that was the bottom of the 9th. So yes, Kit won the game for her team. And what a lot of people fall into the trap of this movie is you're rooting for the Rockford Peaches. Well, as I said earlier, this game isn't about the Rockford Peaches. It's about A Tale of Two Sisters. About how Kit and Dottie's relationship with each other. How it has gone up and down. It is a roller coaster between these 2 sisters. So at the end of the game, after everybody is chanting Kit's name, and they finally are down, and the girls are like, hey, it was a great game and whatnot. And some of them are bummed that it's like right up to that last inning we had it, and well, that's the breaks, kid. And they all are, and most of them are acknowledging it's a great game, or it's just a game, you know? And so Kit is signing autographs for girls outside or out there and whatnot. And they're like, so what team are you rooting for? Racing. And she's basically where Dottie used to be. She's the one that has all the notoriety and whatnot. And so she tries talking to her to her sister because Dottie is out there getting ready to get on the bus. And she's like, or they're talking. She's like, you were standing right in front of the plate. I had to. And she's like, don't worry about it. You wanted it more than me. It's just a game. And you did it. I think it jammed my shoulder, if that makes you feel anywhere. A little bit. He's like, so you're coming back next year, right? No. Me and Bob, or I want to have kids. Me and Bob, we want to have kids. Well, Dottie, there's plenty of times to have kids. It's like, you're going to miss this. And she's like, I'll tell you what, you think I'm going to miss doing a doubleheader in 100-degree heat? Or runners smacking into me every other time somebody hits? But I will tell you what I will miss. I'll miss the girls and I'll miss you, kid. She's like, really? Yeah, really? I mean, you're my sister. How many sisters do you think I have? And then there is that touching moment because Kit is realizing, yeah, her sister does love her. It's just that they don't always get along, you know? And she's like, you will miss this. Even though you say you don't, you will miss it. And so then they go their separate ways on the buses, and they have that nice little reminder from earlier in the movie. Hey, Kit, lay off the high ones. I like the high ones. Mule, nag. And then we're back to the present with older Dottie. And you realize that is Dottie. Now, honestly, when I resaw this movie later on, I thought that it was Dottie Hinson in old makeup. It wasn't. They actually have different people playing the older versions. And you see Doris, she's like, hey, man, come here. What? Doris, come here. Dottie? So she throws the ball, and she catches it, and she's like, it's Dottie. Hey, Doris. And it's a wonderful reunion between the ladies as they're older. And you can instantly recognize which character or which older women are which, because they did a great job with matching them up. They did a great job with getting the older, or finding women who are older that look just like the actresses who played their younger selves. I mean, you could tell which one was Ellen Sue. You could tell which one was Marley. You could tell which one was May, Doris, and all of them. You could tell which ones were which. And it is so great. So then they go into the Baseball Hall of Fame. So because the Women's Baseball Hall of Fame was just opening at that time. And one of them's like, this doesn't seem right. Mr. Lowenstein, you helped and fought for this, or for the league. You should be the one to open the, or you should be the one to cut the ribbon. And so you see Ira Lowenstein's like, ladies, it's my honor. And he cuts the ribbon for him. And you see all the different ladies during the first season and whatnot. And Marla is talking with her husband, Brinkman, and points to John Lovitz, the scout. That man changed my life and whatnot. You see how all of them are reacting to the different things. You see Dottie go up to Jimmy Dugan's picture and whatnot. And then you hear Ellen Sue start singing the All-American League song again. And after that, you hear or you see an older Kit, who is immediately recognizable, come in with some grandkids and whatnot. They're like, is that you, Grandma? And she's like, yep. And then she sees her sister Dottie, and Dottie sees her, and they have that nice reunion. And then you get the picture, or they're like, let's all take a picture, the original Rockford Peaches. And they all get the pictures. You see and that is the credit rolls, but the credits go through the comparisons of the older original pictures that they took of different moments during the league, and of the real players, and comparisons to the movie players. You also see the real All-American Girls Baseball League players playing and whatnot. And you see that these women, even though they have lived their lives, even though they have gotten older, they can still play a good game of baseball. You can still see that they got good swings behind their arms. You can see that they are great even at that time. Hey, bro, how's it hanging today? It's going good, Kamen Rider. Good to see you. We're talking a league of their own. And as I said, folks, when I met that professional baseball player from the women's league, Dolly Nemec, I was starstruck. It was a cool thing. And she did have a friend. I can't remember her name, but it was a cool thing to see. And also the Stillwell Angel reunion in there, because his mom passed away a couple of years before the ending of the movie. He's like, hello, Dottie. Do you remember? Here I got a list. And it was such a great little reunion. And you see him honoring his mom standing by her photo and whatnot. It was a great movie. It's a movie that takes you on an emotional roller coaster, laughs, heartbreak, drama, all of it. This is a movie that is sorely underrated nowadays, because it was written for entertainment purposes, but it also did a nice tribute to the All-American Girls Baseball League. And the league only ran from or from 43 to 50 something. Or I think it was 58. So it was a 15-year run, I believe, for the All-American Girls Baseball League. But they still kept it alive years later as the women would come to Cooperstown and play the games and whatnot. Now, objectively speaking, this movie does have a couple of issues here and there. There's a couple of scenes that could have had a little bit better cinematography. But for the most part, the movie holds up. Objectively speaking, this movie is about a 9 to a 9.5 out of 10. And I gotta say, it's really good to see a great movie like that. Subjectively, with my own, or with bias and whatnot, this movie is a 10 out of 10. I thoroughly enjoy this movie. This is one of my favorite movies. And a lot of people, when I became a YouTuber, are like, oh, you're just a sexist. You don't like strong female leads. Then why the fuck is A League of Their Own one of my favorite movies, even from childhood? Oh, excuse me. I mean, folks, it does, Liquid. It does, indeed. It holds up brilliantly. And moviegoer, if you like these kind of movies, it's a 10 out of 10. This is a great, feel-good kind of movie. It gives you the laughs. It gives you the cries. It gives you all of it. And it's truly a wonderful film. Back then, having to get different actresses and older women who look like the actresses who played in the 40s part of the film. Then you have the older actresses who, in some way or another, will look like the characters. That's not easy. Even back then, it's not easy to do. Because you got to look at thousands of people to try to find that one person who looks like Gina Davis. Find that one person who looks like an older version of Lori Petty. That one person who looks like an older Marla Hooch. You gotta, or it's not easy. And a lot of these women who played in these movies, Tia Leone, she did some good movies later on. A lot of people say she has a spectacularly mundane career. She actually does a lot of good roles. I liked her in Deep Impact. I liked her in Madam Secretary. I honestly liked that show first going on. And yes, I know it was based off of Hillary Clinton, but still, it was a decent show that didn't really put in the modern politics, even though it was made during modern politics. Tia Leone doesn't really get a good credit in the movie, even though she had one line drop in that entire movie, and that was just saying yeah, because she tagged the first and whatnot during the World Series. She was on the Racine Bells, and she was the run that got a single for Kit to actually bring it on home. You know, all of these actors and actresses that played in these movies went on to have decent careers. Gina Davis is always going to be a very special actress. She is part of Mensa. She's part of a genius organization because she is a genius. She's genius level, and she chose to be an actress. Just goes to show you. So yeah, A League of Their Own, it's a highly rewatchable movie. It's a wonderful movie that you can show your kids a little piece of history. It's based on the historical events of the All-American Girls Baseball League. And it really is enjoyable to watch because these women stepped up to the plate, so to speak, so that they could keep our economy afloat. And it did help the economy. Even though there was only 5 or 6 teams and 16 girls to a team, so 64 girls, so 64 divided by 16. I think that's 4 teams or something like that. But anyway, 4 or 5 teams. But it still was a good movie as well. It tells a great story. Yes, there's some embellishment, but still it shows a lot of good, or it tells a good tale. Anyway, folks, that is going to be the mystery review for today. Thank you for everyone tuning in. Mara, G-Fan, Cayman Rider, Liquid, Epi. Thank you guys for listening in. And I do have a couple hints for the next mystery review. Let's see here. What are a couple good hints? All right. The hints for the next mystery review: Toledo Salamanca and Madison Square Garden. If you can get those two, don't put them in the comments. Do not put that. If you guessed it right, if you know what it is, don't put it in the comments. DM me on Twitter if you've guessed it right. It's okay, Cayman. Dude, if you come in, that's awesome. If you make it in at any time, that's great, and I'm very thankful. But yes, those are the hints for the next mystery review. It might be next week. It might not. It all depends. It depends on what life is throwing at me at the time. So thank you all for tuning in. Remember the two hints: Toledo Salamanca and Madison Square Garden. And message me on Twitter to see, or with your guesses. So anyway, folks, that is going to be the video. Y'all know the drill. If you're catching this on the replay, like, comment, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Anyway, until then, until next time, this has been Orange Hat Reviews. Stay humble.